Well, hey there, boys and girls, ladies and gents, theys and theirs. This is Tara Shapansky from the Polish-American Brotherhood and Adam Francisco from Be Free My Sheeple. And you're listening to the T&A Show, the Tara and Adam Show.
All right, guys, welcome back to our channel. This is the T&A Show, Season 2, Episode 6, and we have a great guest for you guys. His name is Elias Castilla, and you guys are going to recognize him from our YouTube channel. We met him at FIU when we were filming those, and he is the gentleman that went off about what's going on in America, very fact-based. So before we get into it, Elias, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Elias Castilla. I attend Florida International University down in Miami. I moved to the U.S. when I was 11 years old, and I've been here since. And I am a college student majoring in international relations and political science, and I'm more than happy to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Yeah, while we get into it, Tara, let's pull up the YouTube video just as a reminder. If you guys go to my YouTube channel and you'll find the video of Elias, we got a really, really great response so far. Super high like ratio, which is always great to see. And the comments have been very positive. So we wanted to get him back on the show to go into more detail. There we go. He got 363 thumbs up and 5 thumbs down. We probably know who 2 of those are, my commie friends, Nick and Renzo. But besides that, we got a flood of thumbs up. Let's play some of that clip right now.
Guys, we're trying to show support for our friend Brandon. Can we get Let's Go Brandon for YouTube?
Yeah, let's go, Brandon.
Let's Go Brandon is the new phrase of saying F Joe Biden.
So we're trying to create college libs.
Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, of course. I'm totally down, dude. Like, look at the economy. Look at inflation. Yeah, like, definitely let's go, Brandon. Our country, unfortunately, is not going down the right path. And it's because of Brandon, you know. I know, it's not because of Brandon. That's the issue. I don't even know who Brandon is.
You heard the story of how this came about, though. Let's Go Brandon. Basically, what was the name of the
Brandon Brown, race car driver.
Driver Brandon Brown. The crowd was saying F Joe Biden in the background, and the reporter was trying to cover it up. So she said, "Look, Brandon, they're supporting you. They're all cheering. Let's go, Brandon." Really, they're all saying F Joe Biden.
Yeah, and it's something that we see from the media all the time. You know, twisting everyone's word and pushing a narrative for the American people that it's not right. You know. And they're great at that. I mean, the left, the socialists are great at creating a narrative that truly appeals to people, that appeals to, unfortunately.
When we met Elias, thanks to Tara, she's the one who approached him, and then internet magic was made on that video. So, Elias, we're so happy to have you on our channel. Thanks again for joining us. So let's go into more detail. Tell us about your family, how they immigrated into this country, the process they went through.
Definitely. So my mom was the one who brought me to this country. You know, she was a dreamer. I was born in Barranquilla, Colombia, which is a coastal port city in Colombia. It's famous because that's where Shakira was born. And then my mom was a single mother, and since I was born, she wanted to provide me with the best opportunity that she could, you know, and what better place than to do that than in the U.S. The United States has always been a place that not only, you know, welcomes people, but has been a place where people come here to work hard, which is the most important thing, and, you know, and succeed. So she brought me to this country when I was in 6th grade. And it's funny because she always tells me the story of how the first time that she applied for a visa, she was rejected. She did, you know, she went to the embassy, she went through the process, filled out the paperwork, and they rejected her visa. And then someone, you know, got in touch with her and told her, we can get you through the U.S.-Mexico border as an illegal. So, you know, we'll put you, like, I think it was on a train or something like that, and then you can come to the U.S. illegally, and then, you know, somehow, like, down the road, we can also bring your son. But my mom understood that, you know, first of all, the implications. Second of all, she's always had a high regard, not only for the U.S., but also for the laws. My mom is a person that she respects law and order. And of course, she declined. And then she was, you know, if I'm going to go, she thought, if I'm going to move to the U.S., I'm going to do it the right way. And there is a right way. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, like, oh, no, like, you know, it was impossible for us. It's not impossible. The United States, like I mentioned, is a country that has always welcomed immigrants. And is a country that if you do the things right, you will be able to achieve or to get wherever you want to go. So the second time she applied for a visa, um, they gave her the visa. The embassy gave her the visa for her and for myself, and we moved here. We moved to the U.S. Originally, we moved to Orlando. We lived there for a year. I started, learning the language. One thing that my mom made it clear for me was, she told me, "You're gonna move to the U.S., but don't expect for the U.S. to accommodate to you. Don't expect for them just because you're an immigrant, like for you to be handed out things freely or for them to like speak your language." No, she always encouraged me to learn the language, to learn the culture, to adapt to the culture, and of course, most importantly, to adopt our values, our founding values. The respect for our constitution, respect for freedom, respect for other people's rights. So as a result, I was able to know my first year learn the language, started going to school. I was in middle school. I was a child back then, and excelling academically. And after a year in Orlando, we moved down to Miami. Miami, of course, is a larger city. It has more opportunities in terms of education, in terms of we're also like closer to where I was born, to Colombia. So we moved down here, and ever since I've been here, I went to high school here, and now I attend Florida International University, Miami's public university, which I think it's great because people usually the most famous wedding is University of Miami. But here in Miami, we have a joke we call University of Coral Gables because we don't feel like it's the University of Miami. Most people are from New Jersey. So you can tell, you can imagine how things work at that university. So I go to the real University of Miami, which is FIU.
As an alum myself of University of Miami, I'm going to disregard that. But your mom focused on the importance of coming through legally. Now she had the opportunity to come through illegally. Why? Like, what is the value difference in coming through the legal process versus coming into the country illegally?
Oh, of course. First of all, it is, I think it is a little bit hypocritical for people to come here illegally and then expect, help, expect like, oh my God, like I need this, I need that. If you're gonna come here and if you want, the opportunities, first of all, you have to do so by respecting our laws, by respecting our nation. It's a matter of respect. You want respect, well, you have to give us that respect too, right? So I think that is one that is the most important thing. Number two, we don't know, like, it's also a matter of national security. We don't know, like, when someone comes through the border, who is that person? Yes, a lot of them, they come through the Mexican border, but they're not necessarily Mexican, right? We have people coming in from Haiti. We have people coming in from the Middle East, coming here from Somalia and Africa, right? So it's also a matter of national security. It's also a matter of, we need to screen these people. When I was doing the process to become to get my visa, I had to go through multiple medical exams. They did an X-ray to see if I had any drugs inside of me, right? Before I traveled, they did like an eye exam, right? They did I remember they even did like a tuberculosis exam, right? So those are protocols that are in place for a reason, and that reason is national security. Biden and the left want to sell this idea that we need open borders because we are the land of the free, and that is our motto. That is not right. That is not true. We need to protect our people first. So it's not only that the value of doing it the right way. Not only is for us to be able to help you, because if we know that you're a person, if we know that you're an immigrant who came here the right way, who is a person of good, then we will. That's gonna motivate everyone around to help you, right? But if we don't know who you are, if we don't know why you came here, if we don't know if if you start off by disrespecting and disregarding our laws, that's of course not not gonna motivate anyone to give you a helping hand. So I think that that is the added value into following the process legally. There is a legal process for everything, and if you want to get in trouble, if you don't, you want things to go smooth, then do it the right way.
Yeah, that is 100% accurate. And obviously, we have a lot of respect for how your mother decided to come into the country legally. We have a comment from Carlos Hopkins who said, let's be clear, Democrats are packing America with undocumenteds to gain congressional seats across the nation. I mean, we think and we believe it's definitely a power play by the Democrats. What's the comment that you had pulled up right there? Elias was raised right and a very intelligent man. That is right. So you got a lot of fans out there, Elias. We people out here love you. And Carlos is right. The way your mother did it is the right way, the legal way, the American way. So you are Colombian. You know, I'm Mexican, and I'm a big Trump supporter. Tara's a big Trump supporter. I know you're a Trump supporter. And yes, we believe in legal immigration. We believe in building the wall. I think the stay in Mexico policy was great. I think Trump's rhetoric worked. But the feedback I always get is because I'm a Mexican who supports Trump and supports the wall, I must hate myself. How do you, I mean, do you get that kind of reaction since you are also a Latino male who supports Trump?
All the time. I'm a Latino. I'm an immigrant. I get that reaction all the time, that I hate myself, that I hate my mom, that I hate those around me, right? And it's the hypocrisy and the lies that the Democrats want to sell to the world, that they're shoving down our throats. The idea that if you don't fit this specific category, then you are not what you say you are. And it's a hypocrisy because they are all about like welcoming diversity. They're about like, oh, let's all like share our different thoughts. Let's have a safe space. But when you actually think different, they ostracize you. So it's that hypocrisy that the left sells, and it's the reason that's like a foreshadow. It foreshadows how socialism is nothing but a mirage. It's nothing but and some say for them a dream, but for me it's really a nightmare, right? So so it's a hypocrisy. So if they really believed in welcoming diversity of thought, they wouldn't be canceling everyone, left and right. They wouldn't be that having that idea of like, oh, if you don't think like us, we wouldn't, you're a bad person. They want us to constantly put us into boxes. They say, well, if you're Hispanic, you have to think like this. You have to support, AOC because she's Hispanic too. If you're gay, you have to support Pete Buttigieg. If you are, if you're Native American, you have to support Debbie Harlan, who is in Biden's cabinet. Where does that come from? Who says that? It's that hypocrisy that bothers me about the left. And it's that hypocrisy that has divided us. People say that Trump divides us. Trump never divided us. He united us under one flag, under one nation, and under only one idea of all being American. But it's the Democrats who come in, who start putting labels, who start saying you have to think like this, you have to do this, or you have to act this way, and they are truly dividing us because they know that if they divide us, they can conquer us. So, so I think that the lies and the hypocrisy is really, really present in the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. I think because my whole family were raised Democrat, and also my parents are immigrants. My dad is a political refugee to America. I questioned him, like, why were we Democrats? Because our values are also very conservative values. And he told me it's because he thought it was like that the Democrats were in the right. But now, like, things are just becoming more clear that the Democrats are just aiming to make people hate America.
Yep.
And hate each other, and they sell this idea of like, oh, we care about black people, we care about Hispanics. No, they don't. They only see votes. The Democrats only see votes. They only see what's election day, go out and vote. We want to vote. Like they don't what projects? Tell me what President Donald Trump, he gave the most money. He's been the president that has worked the most for historically black colleges and university. Record funding for historically black colleges and university. What has Biden done? What has Biden done so far for the black people? So they cannot go around and say like, oh, we love black people, when in reality they don't care about them until election day.
Yeah, I mean, you could just look at, for example, the BLM movement. They were used by the left as pawns last year in 2020. The Democrats supposedly were backing them, was bailing them out. But then once Biden got in, to this day, I don't believe that the Biden administration has actually met with BLM to just talk about how to improve the black community. So you're exactly right. They use
No, and
race
they
to their
won't, and they
advantage.
won't meet with BLM because it was, it wasn't it wasn't also the Biden administration. The BLM at Venezuela was behind this. Russia was behind this. China was behind this. The BLM were just players that they used in order to spread their socialist and communist ideas. And if they really cared about black people, Biden and the Democrats would tell the truth about BLM. But they're in the game. That's what they want to do. They want to disrupt. For 4 years they created a witch hunt. They created a phony witch hunt to go after President Trump. And every day that President Trump was in office, the left job was trying to disrupt the great work that he was doing as president. And
Yeah.
it came, and eventually that led to the Black Lives Matter protest. Because tell me about it. What did President Trump has to do with the killing of George Floyd? Nothing. That was a local issues. The federal government does not have. There is no national police. That's a city. That's a city issue. So President Trump had nothing to do with it, and somehow they sold the idea. They create narratives. They create narratives that are easy to believe, and they create narratives that are easy to sell to people. And somehow they created this narrative that President Trump magically had something to do with from the federal government that had to do something with like local and county issue. So that's what the left does. They truly don't care about the blacks or Hispanics. They just care about being in power and turning this country upside down.
Yep. And everything bad that happened under Trump is Trump's fault, and everything bad that's happening under Biden is Trump's fault. So no matter what happens, when it comes to Democrats, it's always Trump's fault. Now, go ahead.
They're supported by big media. At the end of the day, they have the tools. They have the tools. So we are really in a fight. The right right now is in a fight to save America. President Trump from Florida, he's every day working hard to ensure that we are able to, once election day comes around for the White House, be able to save America, because they have the tools, they have the big media, they have big tech, and they have the money, and they have the funding that comes from China, that comes from Russia. So we are truly in a fight to save America. And to everyone who is listening, just what is right, and if you truly love America, I would love for them to go out and vote, Republican, and truly to vote for what is right.
I got a question for you, Elias. What year are you in? Are you a senior, junior?
I am a junior.
You're a junior. Right. What made you so politically active? Because most, I'm going to call you a kid right now because you're a lot younger than me. Most kids your age are not really involved in politics, and if they are, they're usually liberal. So how do you so knowledgeable, and what motivates you to stay so involved in politics?
Of course, first of all, my love for this country. My love, because I come from a country, we have Venezuela next door to Colombia. You go to Colombia right now, you see, unfortunately, Venezuela women escaping hunger and selling their bodies for a bar of soap, for a bar of, for toothpaste, right? You see Venezuelan men who have been escaping communism, turning into crime because what happened in their country under socialism. So that makes me really sad to see every time that I go home, the effects of socialism. And Venezuela is going through the worst humanitarian crisis right now, and I don't want that for America. And it is a threat. People think that Venezuela could never be us, but if we have people like AOC in Congress, and if we have people like Bernie Sanders in the Senate, it can be us. So my love for this country, and my love for our values, and my love for the people, it is absolutely my love for the American people and my innate passion to serve others what has led me down the right path, which is putting our country and putting our citizens first.
Tara, he brings up a good point. Like in Venezuela, a lot of the women, they turn to sex work because, they're desperate for fast income. And if you think about it, we've seen the rise of OnlyFans here in America, which for a lot of accounts is a version of sex work, especially if the girls are doing nude or they're doing sexual activities. So it is interesting that we're seeing a rise in that here.
And the socialists sell that, with women's rights, with free the nipple, right? You don't have to cover yourself up. You can just be naked. Walk around naked if you want. Love your body, right? That is not the right way to think. That is what leads to the sexualization of women. So they say like, oh, like, time's up, Me Too movement and all of that. But at the same time, they're selling the idea that women like can go around like naked. Like, come on, like if you really liked women, if you really like, stood up for women, you wouldn't promote that.
Yeah, you respect your bodies.
Yeah, that's true. That's such a hypocrisy thing. Like, hey, we're free. Me Too movement. It's kind of like, well, that's just kind of the reaction, I guess, to when you show off your sexualized body. Wow, that's definitely some good stuff. So your college campus right now, would you say it leans liberal or conservative?
I think FIU overall, I think you lean conservative. Don't get me wrong, we have a lot of commies on campus, unfortunately, but we are in the heart of Miami. We are, most of our student population are the sons and daughters of exiles, of people who escaped communism. So we do, I think, above all, we are more conservative than the average college. So we're rare. We're very rare.
Okay, so yeah, I pulled up the data, and that's scary because if you guys are more conservative than the average college, your college is still considered quite liberal. So let me just send you this link right now, Tara, because these are good stats to pull up right now about FIU. That's why I think it's great to have you on that campus, because you're speaking from more of a conservative Republican standpoint, which I think your college needs more of. So we're going to pull this up in a second. But while we're doing that, I remember I was in college almost 20 years ago. Wow. And I just don't recall politics and social justice being such a huge issue on my campus. Now, maybe it's because I wasn't involved in it, but I just don't recall. Now, when you were in college, do you think that,
It's not like what we're seeing now. And I was a political science major. Like
Right.
the hatred and the division and the way that people attack each other and the social justice warriors and the whole wokeness, that wasn't really there. And I went to UCF for my undergrad, and that's where we saw, like Caitlin Bennett attacked or chased by the liberal mob there. It was definitely different. And even being a political science major, I was not in this type of environment that, Elias, that you're facing.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the left. It goes back to the, historically, in Colombia, and they attempted, and this was something done by Russia, which it's ironic, but it always starts, they all go out to colleges campus and they start selling this idea to students. We need to have a student revolution. We are being oppressed. And it starts like that in Latin America. The Chile protests that we had recently, I believe it was last year, 2019. It was, students. The left goes to students who are vulnerable, who they're naive, and they start selling them these ideas of we need to, we're in a revolution, right? We're in a socialist revolution for justice, and students fall into it. So it's definitely the left. University of Miami, I can tell you right now that Donna Shalala, who was president of the University of Miami, she was in Clinton's cabinet, and last year she was Florida's 27th. She was a representative in the U.S. House for Florida's 27th congressional district as a Democrat. She's teaching there right now, so she's obviously pushing the Democratic agenda down the students' throats. So it starts with the left telling students, if you're young, you have to fit this category and you have to do this. Otherwise, you're wrong. So.
So we have the stats in the background. This is from niche.com. FIU. Apparently, the college campus is 39% Democrats, 14% Republicans, 23% independents, and then 22% I don't care about politics. If I was a college, I'd be in I don't care about politics. But today I would I'm registered as independent, but my thoughts lean Republican. And then for the poll, how would you best describe the political beliefs of the campus as a whole? 4% conservative. And you're saying that that's better than most college campuses. That's crazy.
Again, when it comes to polling, I don't know what to believe the polls, because,
Correct. That's true.
The polls said that Trump would lose. Trump ultimately won. The
true.
Trumps, of course, like to put the liberals, like to glorify the liberals and put the liberals in a better spot that they're in. They've done that throughout history. They did that when Ron DeSantis ran for governor. They said that the other guy, I forget his name, by the way, he was found in like high on cocaine with like male prostitutes here in Miami.
Yeah, that guy. What was his name?
I remember what you're talking about, but
yeah, he DeSantis barely beat him by like 0.4% or something.
Exactly. So I don't remember his name, but the polls like to always glorify and elevate the status of the Democrats in any polls. So what are the niche sources? Did they go to a meeting of FIU Democrats and ask them? Did they go to different, like, what sources? But I can tell you right now that I believe it's certainly more than 4% Republican for sure. As someone who sits in their classes and who talks to people, we have the Venezuelans coming over. We have Venezuelans escaping communism, Nicaraguans in 2018 escaping communism. We had the Cubans, and we have people like me, Colombians, who see what's going on next door. So I think it's more than that. So
yeah, you're right.
Again, I don't know if we should trust the polls in any election or in any circumstance.
Yeah, he's right though. They said that Texas was going to go blue.
Yeah.
And Trump was right. They use polls as a means of voter suppression.
Yeah, they always do. They always do. So what do? They they take these polls. This is what they do. They take these polls. They go to a college student and they say, look, your college is mostly liberal, so you should be a liberal too to fit in, right? And that's what they do. They've done that, with Hispanics. Look, most Hispanics voted for Clinton. So you should vote for Biden because they're the same party. That's what they do. They use that as as manipulation and as a way to control the people, sell a narrative, and as a way of telling them what to do, how to think, and how to vote.
I was thinking about back to my college experience, and maybe also a reason why I didn't experience it is because I was liberal at that point. So I'm going along with the narrative. It's the moment that you step outside the narrative that people come at you. So maybe that's why I wasn't even experiencing it at that point, that when I was in college, because I was asking some of my conservative friends, I'm like, God, it's bad. Like last year, what I was experiencing, I was like, was it like this for you guys? And they're like, yeah, it's always been bad. I had no idea until you say something that people disagree with, then they want to like hang you.
Yeah, that is totally right. And at the college, look, colleges, I'm going to speak colleges overall. Unfortunately, colleges, especially public colleges across the U.S., right now, they are, a factory of socialism and communists. Right. So, but thankfully, I find myself in a college that I don't perceive it's like that. A lot of my teachers are conservative, and most of my classmates are conservative. So, what the polls say, again, I don't know the sources of these polls. If they want to if they want to expand on it a little bit more, that would be helpful. But I can tell you from experience, and the experience is that most of my classmates understand the danger of communism. Or have experienced communism, and they don't want that in America.
Hey, I'm curious, Elias. What do you plan on doing in your life? I mean, obviously, you're very informed. You're very, you know a lot about this stuff. Where do you see your life going?
Well, I see myself hopefully. I'm still debating because last summer, last summer I did an internship for Goldman Sachs. I didn't like big banks. I don't think Wall Street was my thing. But I think I hopefully one day want to be in the House of Congress. Making sure that I'm putting America first. We are my team, because of course at the end of the day it's a collective effort with whoever my staff is, but we're working to put our nations first, our citizens first, and tackling the threats that we have from the left, especially China. Today I had a class with the former vice president of Colombia and former ambassador of Colombia to the U.S., Francisco Santos. Great person. He was vice president under Uribe, who was a right president. He was the president from the right in Colombia, and he was ambassador when President Trump was in the White House. And he truly told us, and I don't think I have my notes with me, but he told us about the threat of China. He told us about the Belt and Road Initiative that they're conducting in Africa. Africa is sold out to China anymore. Like it's ridiculous. Through their foreign investment, they were able to take control of Africa. the super mega ports that they're building places like Sri Lanka, right? And now China has its eyes on Latin America, right? On places like Nicaragua, Ecuador. Ecuador is hugely indebted with China. Places like Venezuela, fully owned by China, you know. So I think that America needs to pay attention to that extremely geopolitical region or backyard, right? Let's remember that Iran bombed the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in 1992, right? They are doing business with Venezuela. They sold thousands of missiles and rockets pretty much to Venezuela. So I think that the United States should focus on that in order to protect our people. So that's definitely, if I find myself in Congress, one of the things that I will be working on is protecting our businesses, protecting our people, and safeguarding our nation from the threat of communism and the threat of China that is very much real.
Absolutely. What you just said also resonates of when I had traveled to Cambodia, and I went to the south over in Sihanoukville, and I had been there twice in 2015 and then again in 2018, and it was so different because China basically bought up all of Sihanoukville. They built all these casinos, and so and it puts the local people out because they can't compete with the prices that the Chinese will then pay. So they are then removed from the land, and then these casinos are built, but then China will bring in its own people to hire in the casinos. So they're not even creating jobs for the locals, and then the locals are just put out. They've lost their business, they lost their land, and then they lose their livelihood. So that's the impact that that China's having in the way it's even doing businesses, because there's these countries that are in poverty. Cambodia's in poverty. They're selling off their lands, and then therefore they're going to be indebted and then owned and basically colonized by China.
Yeah, it's a new form of neocolonialism coming from the Chinese Communist Party. And the United States and Joe Biden, it's doing nothing about it. He's a China puppet. And President Trump was doing something about it. And that's when China came out with, their little lab experiment called COVID-19, right? So it is a very serious threat. And that's something that we should pay attention on. But Sleepy Joe is not even the White House. He's probably in the Eisenhower building, on drugs or something, doing what the Democrats want. You know, she's just an image. He's like the Queen of England, just, a head of state, and that's it. Like nothing else behind it. So not real power. So he is doing nothing about China, and we need someone who will stand up to China, who will tell the Chinese Communist Party, you will not mess with us, and we will not allow you to continue meddling in U.S. affairs, and especially in our backyard, which is Latin America. So unfortunately, we're not seeing that from Washington against again, dearth of leadership. And China is happy right now. That's what they did with the whole Black Lives Matter protest, their little lab experiment, and that's what Xi Jinping, which is Rocket Man #2, it wants. So hopefully, if I ever find myself in the House of Congress, I'll make sure that we're standing up to China the way it should be, and the way that America would stand up to its enemies, many years ago. But unfortunately, Democrats have destroyed that, have destroyed all the hard work that the Republicans and great presidents like Donald Trump and most Republican presidents before him have done.
I think back also the first meeting that the Chinese president or the cabinet had, even with like the Biden administration. I believe that was maybe in Alaska. Probably wrong about that.
Yes, it was in Alaska.
It was in Alaska. So ironically,
yes, it was in Anchorage. I went to Alaska. I'm sorry. I went to Alaska I believe it was early June, and Secretary Blinken, who is the Secretary of State, he had a meeting with the Chinese Communist Party, and they basically, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it like they bent over to the Chinese Communist Party, and the CCP had fun with them, and Biden's bought up. He has business interests in China, and so do all Democrats, and that's what they like to do. China is right now they're playing around with us. And President Trump was truly standing up to them. President Trump was bringing back jobs from China. You know how? President Trump lowered their corporate tax rate. I think it was to 21%. And people were like, oh, like, the left went out and said he's working for the rich. He's the president of the rich, of the elite. He's not. He did that in order to bring back jobs from China. Because you know what China first pilot program was to take jobs away from the US. China, the first thing they did was to slash their corporate tax rate to 15%. Then they pay the workers 10 cents an hour, and they created special economic zones in cities like Shanghai. So when President Trump cut the corporate tax rate, he was not working for the rich. He was not working for the elite. He did that in order to bring back the jobs that China had taken from us. But of course, again, we see one more time the left and the socialists and the Democrats creating fake narratives in order to bring down and to create a false idea of what President Trump was doing for our nation.
Speaking of fake narratives, you know what else came about around the same time at that meeting? The Stop Asian Hate movement. That's when it started coming up onto the narrative. How, like, I thought that was kind of interesting timing for when the administration's meeting with the Chinese administration, and now everyone's talking about Stop Asian Hate.
Yeah.
Yes, it's incredible. Their goal was to stop Asian hate. Their goal was to, send people to love China. That was their main goal, and we saw that. We saw, the Confucius Institutes that they have put in many universities here in the U.S. And in fact, at one point, we had a Confucius Institute right here in Miami and Miami-Dade College. And what was that? That was nothing but Chinese Communist Party's espionage centers. Their consulate, I think, was in Houston, also another one. So all this Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, Me Too movement, all these things that seek to disrupt our peace and our American way comes from China, comes from, it's like a think tank. It's like a communist think tank. They love to sit down, and every day I think the Chinese Communist Party's members wake up, and Xi Jinping wakes up and he's like, okay, what can we do today? Let's brainstorm about what can we do today in order to destroy America from the inside more and more every day. But hopefully one day we will get leadership again in the White House like we had under President Trump. And the Chinese must be scared. You know why? Because they by 20, I think it's 2100. So 2100. China is expected to have, I think it's 700 million people. So their population is declining. The United States is expecting to have 500 million people. So we will be catching up to China in terms of population. So I still have hope for the U.S. As long as we keep choosing people that or electing people that stand up to China. So the hope is not death, but it really, really, really worries me, and we're very close to a China takeover and a socialist takeover here in the U.S.
Yeah, there was an article that came out on Al Jazeera. I'll fire this over to Tara right now, and he said that it says that population in more than 20 countries to have by 2100. The Earth will be home to 8.8 billion people in 2100, 2 billion fewer than the current UN projection, says new study. And China's population will fall from 1.4 billion to 730 million in 80 years.
Yes.
Why would it drop? What's the theory
because they're dumb two child or one child policy. Because what happened was that the Communist Party they wanted a way of controlling population. So I think it was a one child policy that they implemented in China. And what happened was that, of course, traditional families wanted to have sons instead of daughters. So like men, because the man is more likely to take care of the household, because they can work traditionally harder jobs, and there are more like opportunities for men even in China. So they chose men over women, and the women were aborting, having abortions when they found out that their child was a girl. Again, abortion, another thing pushed by socialists, women's rights, right? In China, they were doing that. They were, aborting girls, having abortions and losing the girls. And now their population is not balanced. They have more men than they have women. And because of the one China policy, their population is going to be aging. So their population eventually, it's going to happen what happened in Japan, which will eventually, die out, and there's going to be more. There's going to be an unbalance of more older people than younger people. So that's where their demographics problems come from.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I remember they had the one-child policy. Now they've
lifted that now.
They had to step back from it. They had to repeal it because it was an absolute failure.
And now I believe that, as you mentioned, there's problems with dating culture in China.
Yeah, because there's so many
men can't find dates.
Yeah.
And it's almost the same thing that's happening here in America right now.
Yeah.
I think we were seeing through dating apps, apparently 1 in 3 men under 30 are virgins today. 1 in 3 men under 30 are virgins. Like, they can't find a partner. And a big,
that is so sad.
But a lot of it has to do with the internet and dating apps, is that it's basically going back to like barbaric matching, where women have access now to the 1% of men globally. So you have like some of these beautiful girls.
We got our pick now, right?
Women have their pick of men anywhere in the world, right? So they'll have these princes in Dubai that'll match with them on Tinder and then fly them out. And why would they say no to that? They get to go on jets and, boost their Instagram image.
Exactly.
So we're probably starting to see that here too in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which is
no, and like I mentioned, in China, the issue with girls, abortion. That's another thing that I mentioned, that the Democrats want to push, that they say, women's rights. It's not women's right. It's a method of population control. It is not only immoral because, you're killing a live human being, but it's also a way of the many methods that China wants to. I see 39 on girl. Funny. But it's one of the many ways that that China wants to control, global population.
Yeah. We obviously, it's weird. I grew up my whole life being pro-choice because I believe that a woman's right to choose was more important than a baby being born or existing. And, my mindset on that started to change in 2017. And it really fully flipped in around 2019 when I was like, hold on, how am I pro-baby murder? Because that's ultimately what I realized what it was.
Talk about abortion very lightly. The Democrats talk about abortion as they use it was they don't talk about the fact that a lot of abortion procedures, they break the baby apart. They break their legs, they break their limbs, and they take them out right with forceps, or they'll vacuum. They'll literally vacuum. They'll break the baby's limbs and legs, and they'll literally vacuum the baby out of the womb. So so it's definitely horrible, but it is, again, immoral, and it is in many ways that China has devised in order, and the left overall, well, China being, the powerhouse of the left, but have devised to control population.
Well, the one thing I'll say is the only good news about the left being so pro-abortion is that it's turned a lot of people away from their party. You know what I'm saying? And my dad is one of them. My dad was a Democrat his whole life, and I interviewed him on my channel, and he literally said, the fact that the Democrats in some states want to be able to abort the baby in the 3rd trimester, if not up until the birthday, he said this has gone too far, and it's out of control. So it is red pilling a lot of people to move over and on the side of choosing life. It's also
it goes down to the values of the people, and at its core is how people see life. And so when I remember like the experience I had when I was in China, I felt like people are very cold here. And in the sense of they would say if a person is hit by a car, they would prefer for the person to die than to live, and then because the person who caused the injury would be responsible for caring for that individual. So there's not going to be a cost associated if that person dies. Well, and so because they really did a number with taking when communism was implemented, for stripping away any kind of ties to family. And so that's why it makes it easier to like snitch on your family to the government, because the ties are to the government and not to the family that you have. So when there's such a this kind of cold attitude when it comes to abortion, that's the start of life. It permeates all the way throughout life.
Well, even worse in China, you'd see a lot of videos online where they would hit somebody, like you mentioned, and they wouldn't just drive away. They would back up on the body.
Yeah.
And then they would And then when they would be in court, they would say, I thought that I was running over a bag of garbage. I didn't see it. And it's like when you're on trial, how would you know what somebody was thinking? And so they were able to get away with doing that. And it's exactly for what you're saying. So they would not have to be responsible.
They stripped away family ties. They stripped away a spirituality, like religion completely being banned there. I feel like there is a difference when, because I also traveled in Vietnam, but there was still a spirituality about the people. So there was more of a kindness that I saw. And I think that stems from like how a lot of our issues I feel that were going on in America is going away from conservative values, our values for life, our values, how we see humanity, and it's disguised as to, flashing flashing the virtue signal, like the article that you wrote last night, Adam, for Be Free My Sheeple, of how a person was a man just attacked a woman and nobody stood up or defended her because the value wasn't like, people are so cold and desensitized to everything that's going on. It's more value to flash a black square on your profile than to actually stand up in person and defend a person. That's right.
And it's interesting how you mentioned, black square in your profile, because again, the left wants to dehumanize us. That's one of their main goals is to hit that or take away that human factor from all of us so they can control us better. And I read once a story about, it was I don't remember which university it was. A student, he committed suicide by jumping off a building. And once he hit the ground, there were like medical students around him. And the medical students, instead of helping, what they did is they pulled out their phones and started recording. And we're talking about medical students who are studying, quote unquote, to, save lives in the future. And that goes back to social media and the many ways that, they've dehumanized us is by, big tech controlling us via a phone screen. So that is definitely one of the ideals, core ideals of the left, is to, make sure that we care about more what's in the screen or this, this perception that people have of us instead of what's the strength of our character. So that it's really, really sad and unfortunate that it happens, that they want to dehumanize us.
Do you guys think that a big reason why big tech has destroyed a lot of our societies because of the algorithms, basically force feeding us information to radicalize all of us?
Of course, and those are of course, it is very well known and it is documented. And Facebook right now is on a battle to hide all the bad things that they do and all the evidence they have that they push down news or throats. They want to society to move this way. They're trying to hide that. Facebook creating a metaverse and then them talking about changing their name because they know that they of all the things that they've tried to do. So that's you're spot on. That's basically what's happening. And Facebook is right now trying to cover it up.
Yeah. Did you hear, Tara, they changed their name to Metaverse today?
I saw an article about that. I didn't read it yet, though. So, which
is suspicious timing, considering that they are under the heat for all this stuff they're doing.
Yep.
And just so you know what the word means, metaverse, for those of us who aren't familiar, it's a virtual reality space in which users can interact with the computer-generated environment and other users. So this is
again, dehumanizing us.
Yep. Openly, what they're trying to do is they're trying to have us permanently connected into this virtual world, which is not real life. And truly, this reminds you of the TV show Black Mirror.
Yeah, I was just thinking
This is literally Black Mirror being brought to freaking life.
Yep, it is that. It is. I think. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg watched probably Black Mirror and he was like, "Oh, this would be a great idea."
Inspired.
Or Xi Jinping called him and he said, "Hey, Mark, I just watched this great series on Netflix, and I think we should do something like this." So.
I got it.
Just watch out for the killer bees, right?
Yeah, the killer bees, the killer robot dogs.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is I met somebody.
I was hiking and my friend was showing me how there is suddenly this beetle came from China, from Asia, and it was like killing the trees there. And the trees that are natives, and and there's like not much we can do. So now it's their lab experiments, like it's all encompassing. It goes from animals to climate change to diseases. They have a whole menu lined up for us.
That's crazy. I was going to say that I know somebody that got the virtual reality set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You put it in like the Oculus. and he tested out adult entertainment on it, and he said to me, I kid you not, he said it's almost better than the real thing, and I said this is kind of scary, isn't that? Instead of actually going out and trying to find a partner to meet somebody, you can now just buy a virtual reality headset.
Lazy.
It's lazy, and also he'll never deal with rejection in that regard. But that's scary.
Yeah,
that this is an example of the metaverse making virtual reality replace real life experiences, and it's only going to hurt, as we talked about earlier, population growth. It's going to hurt dating. Do you know what I'm saying? So
among the other things are harming dating these days too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's wild stuff. Metaverse, guys, is the new company, so we're not going to be hearing the word Facebook as much anymore. Yeah. Let's see. We got some good comments coming in from some of our audience. Our friend Carlos called Mark Zuckerberg the reptile. The reptile. Yeah, there's some conspiracy theorists. He's like a lizard person.
Yeah, it is. He's something else. Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but we got comments about Black Mirror. Elias, have you ever watched the show Black Mirror?
I have watched the show. It is, utopian. It's scary stuff, and many of those things, again, we're seeing it. We're seeing it. People. The episode of social media, the episode of virtual reality, the metaverse. It's happening, and it's very scary. And I think it's probably AOC's favorite show. She probably goes to bed watching. She's like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this to happen. So
she gets inspiration from it.
She gets inspiration, yeah. Like before she goes into the house floor, she watches that.
Do you know
the rest? They probably have her and her little communist squad probably have a Black Mirror watch party, and then they start drafting up legislation after that.
Yeah, Black Mirror is their inspiration. The one thing that I find really frustrating about AOC is those photos of her at the border when Trump was president.
Oh my God.
With the kids in cages. She did the fake tears.
And then there's an empty parking lot.
It's an empty parking lot, yeah. So people don't realize that at the time that there were about 2,800 kids in cages at the peak that Trump had separated. Yep. This year alone, it's estimated that there are 25,000 kids in cages, 25,000 children separated from their parents this year.
And that's something that the media won't tell you. That's something that the media won't tell you, again, because they're rigged and they are controlled by the left. Obama deported more people than Trump did, right? Obama was number one in deportations. He had the deportation king. Exactly, deportation king. You had AOC going to the border and crying, and then tweeting about her grandma in Puerto Rico and all this stuff. But meanwhile, she's living, I think it's called Navy Yards, one of the most expensive and luxurious places in DC. And then she goes to the house floor, in her expensive car. I think it's a Tesla, and she goes to talk about wealth redistribution, right? She goes to the Black Lives Matter protests in New York City, in the boroughs she represents, I think the Bronx being one of them, and she talks about, oh my God, white people are the worst, white people are oppressors, white people hate Black people, white people hate Hispanics like me. Meanwhile, she's dating a white man. So it's, again, the hypocrisy that we see from the left.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of AOC. The Navy Yards. Yeah. Have you been there before ever?
No.
Do you know what that is?
Oh, wait. No.
I feel like I've been to that area in DC.
I think it's called Navy Yards where she lives, or it's something Yards, but I'm pretty sure it's
Navy Yards. DC apartments.
Very luxurious new development. Yeah, it's an apartment place, very expensive.
Yep.
And then she talks about how she's I'm a woman of the people, right? We're in a people's revolution. My grandma in Puerto Rico does not have running water because of the rights. Meanwhile, you're living with your warm water and a nice pool and a nice view in Navy Yard. So come on, give me a break. Don't be ridiculous.
It's like
the fact that she goes on and she has the guts to say this, that is the most. And not only that, people actually believe her. Come on, that's ridiculous.
It reminds me of how the BLM founders, they're living in multi-million-dollar houses or have multi-million-dollar properties.
Oh, of course.
What's funny? There was earlier in this year, there was a conservative commentator who started a GoFundMe for AOC's grandmother. Do you remember this? This?
Yes, I do remember this. I saw it all over Twitter.
Yeah,
again, once again, the right shows that they actually care, on the left, who is just all people talk and not walk.
Exactly. Yeah, they raised $104,000 for AOC's abuela, and then she ended up rejecting the money and said they don't need the help, which is just absurd. If you're going to go on national TV and complain that your abuela doesn't have running water, and then the conservatives come out and raise $100,000, and you would take that money if your grandma's really in those conditions.
If my grandma didn't have running water, to be honest, I don't care. I would care more about I would put my grandma first rather than, I don't care if Trump is giving me the money, right? But again, it shows the hypocrisy of, it's all like, it's politics. She's, we gotta give it to the lady. She knows how to create fake narratives. She likes to play politics. So that's what it is, and that's why Trump won, and Trump was so popular, because Trump was not a politician. Trump did not engage in this clownery, in this circus that people like AOC and the establishment engages in. So AOC using her grandma as a way of making people feel bad for her and attacking the rights. He's not only she's living in a very luxurious apartment. It's not only shameful, but it's honestly utterly ridiculous.
She's a master manipulator.
She is.
She's
an
Instagram model too.
She went through their boot camp, their manipulation boot camp. She probably went through it the first week of Congress, if not before. And the left, they're really good at manipulation, and that's why they appeal to young people, because they know how to manipulate, and young people unfortunately are naive, for the most part.
Like wearing that dress to tax the rich when she was going. The ticket for the gala was what, $35,000 or something?
Yeah, it was like
$72,000. Yeah, like, and then she's like, tax the rich, right? How really, it's
here's your bill.
It's funny. Yeah, like $72,000 dress of like tax the rich, and going to the Met Gala. Really? Why don't you go? Instead of going to the Met Gala, why don't you go to a gala for a nonprofit that's serving your communities? Who is a Met Gala serving? What are they raising money for? A custom institute chaired by the by the editor-in-chief of Vogue, Anna Wintour. Is that what you believe in it? Right? If you really cared, you wouldn't go to those galas. You would go to a gala like of boys and girls clubs, right? You would go to a gala of like for veterans, for for veterans who are homeless. Not the Met Gala.
Yep, it was a fundraising event for the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, as if they need the help. As if they need.
You know why she was invited? You know why she was invited? Because she's best friends with Anna Wintour, who is the editor-in-chief of Vogue, and she's best friends with all these artists that have millions and that like to spread socialist idea. Vogue magazine being one of them. They love to talk about how we need like wealth redistribution, and or we're facing the wage gap in America, or women are getting less than men. Meanwhile, they write the article, and next to it is an ad for a Chanel handbag that's $70,000, or for a Birkin bag that's $20,000. So the hypocrisy, and it's funny how people don't see this.
Well said. Well said. Well, this was definitely an awesome conversation. We touched on so many topics: immigration, college, dating, algorithms. Talked about algorithms, all that stuff.
I dressed right for the China topic, so I'm dressed as Mulan.
The China topic. Yeah.
I'm dressed as Mulan right now,
and I'm dressed like the Democrats.
Left
all about the money.
After you and say it's cultural appropriation. So watch out for them.
yeah, your cultural appropriation.
Be true to your heart.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Elias, do you have any closing words for our viewers? And also, when you do this, let us know where to find you. We'll pull up your Instagram in the background as you give your closing words.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my Instagram, Elias Castilla. I'm always, I like to be active in social media, always spreading facts. Final words for the people. America is in a fight right now. America is in a crucial moment to save our values, to save our citizens, and to save what America has stood for more than 200 years. So it is extremely important that everyone out there goes out in the next election and make sure that the Republicans, and especially President Trump, if he runs, wins back the White House. And if you're in Florida, of course, Ron DeSantis for governor.
Awesome. Well said. So there you go, guys. We pulled up Elias's Instagram, so you guys can go follow him. We loved having you as a guest, Elias. Thanks again for joining us. And
thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and hopefully to all the viewers, I'll I'll be able to keep in touch with them via social media, and I will be going to DC next week. So I'm excited for that because I will Congresswoman Mario Vira Salazar, who is a Republican who replaced Donna Shalala. Right now, she has an act that she drafted. It's called the Renacer Act for the people of Nicaragua who are having an election. They're under a communist dictatorship, and Nancy Pelosi does not want to bring it to the table. So I want to go to Washington, to pass by Nancy's office and tell her, bring this to the table because right now the people of Nicaragua are suffering under communism. So I'm really looking forward to that.
What a great kid, politically involved. I love it.
Yeah.
Give Nancy Pelosi our regards. I don't know, we said what's up. And
oh
awesome.
My God, another. That's a whole different. That'll take us 2 more hours.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, well, guys, thanks so much for joining us on episode 6, season 2 of the T&A Show. You guys could find our show on TheTnAShow.com, YouTube, Adam Francisco, or Polish American Brotherhood. And then we're also going to be available on iTunes podcast as well as Spotify. And I found out today we're also on iHeartRadio. So apparently we're syndicated on iHeartRadio too. So we're everywhere.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just search the T&A Show and we are all over the internet. And yeah, thanks again. And the best thing you guys could do if you can't afford to support our channels, share it. Let your friends know about our channel so we can get the word out because we're fighting to make America great again. We're fighting to hopefully get Trump back in office in 2024 and to restore the American values that we're based on. So we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, of course. And God bless America.
God bless Trump. And let's go, Brandon.